On March 8, 2024, Bird Studio and Capsule Corporation in Tokyo issued a joint statement informing everyone that, on March 1, 2024, a full week prior, Akira Toriyama had passed away at age 68. Many people were taken aback and expressed great sadness at the seemingly sudden passing of the author, who had influenced and helped to shape many people's lives and creative output over the decades. From manga artists to game developers to animators and movie directors, martial artists, gym goers, and even normal everyday people. Toriyama's impact spread far and wide across the globe, myself being one artist that was heavily influenced by Toriyama's work. Let me tell you that story. Prior to encountering anything Toriyama had made, my only exposure to anime were shows like Heidi of the Alps, Tofagijo, Pokemon, Digimon, Doraemon, and a few others. I wouldn't run into any of his work until one time I was going through a Brazilian Sonic the Hedgehog fan site called Power Sonic, which I'd spent a lot of time on those days, and their character page for Sonic made mention of how Super Sonic was incredibly similar to the Super Saiyan transformation from this anime called Dragon Ball Z. At the time, I simply glossed over it and kept scrolling, but little did I know I'd run into things that would enlighten me to the connections not long after. Around 2006, I was watching several things on Newgrounds like Super Mario Bros. Z, Nazo Unleashed, and others, most of which share something in common that I was completely clueless about. But one day, I saw that Dragon Ball Z again and the end credits of one of the Super Mario Bros. Z episodes, and I decided to look it up. I ran into a clip of Goku shouting Kaioken in Japanese during the Saiyan arc, and seeing as I remember him being shirtless, it was most likely 3 times Kaioken from episode 31, but I don't think it took long for me to hop off, maybe at the sight of more violent content. It wasn't until around 2008-2009, around my 5th or 6th grade, that I would finally catch Dragon Ball Z properly on TV. To be specific, it was episode 184, where everyone was fighting the Cell Juniors, with the scene of Goku getting beaten up being the one that stuck in my mind for years. However, what got me curious while I was watching were the sound effects. Those were the very same ones I was hearing in all those Newgrounds animations. Mario, Nazo, all had those sound effects. So, out of curiosity, I kept watching. From that point forward, every time I went to my grandma's house after school, I watched the show. I went all the way until the end of Boo, and I even raised my hands for the Genkidama at the end. My grandma thought it was silly, but I did it anyway. By then, I was officially hooked. It lined up well with the time I started to do art more seriously. Yeah, due to my inexperience, a lot of the art was rough, but hey, you gotta start somewhere. What were sheets full of Sonic drawing soon began to feature more and more Dragon Ball characters, as I eventually also went from the Portuguese dub to the Funimation English dub, seeing as my English was also steadily improving at that time. This was also during a time where I was trying to make my own characters, and you guessed it, they had Dragon Ball DNA all over them. And then came the video games. Tenkaichi 1 was the main darling for me and my maternal cousin, but I also dabbled with Tenkaichi 3, having borrowed it from a friend and unlocking the character in little to no time. For a while, that was it. There wasn't any new anime, but there were plenty of video games coming. Both for the PlayStation 2, Wii, PlayStation 3, so on and so forth. Although I was stuck with the PlayStation 2 and Tenkaichi 1 for the longest time, I wasn't gonna let myself be limited to that. The internet gave me plenty of sprite-based flash animation and flash games to keep me occupied, not to mention how I kept skipping classes in 6th grade to watch Dragon Ball GT on TV, to the point of coming damn close to failing the year on absences alone. Keeping the Portuguese tradition of skipping class to watch Dragon Ball alive and well. So, the years went by. Dragon Ball officially hooked me, and I latched on to whatever that was. There was a point where I had a Facebook roleplay page focused on Bardock, as I was a big fan of episode of Bardock at that time. I eagerly awaited Battle of Gods, I bitched over that battle's first Goku vs. Superman, and being the good Funimation dub fan that I was, I kept talking shit about Ocean Studios and the Japanese original music and all. Something that wouldn't take long to change after the release of Battle of Gods in 2013. Specifically, around the time that Dragon Ball Super came around in 2015. As fate would have it, Dragon Ball Super made me appreciate the Japanese cast all the more. But it also helped that I got into Dragon Ball Z Abridged, and grew very fond of Masako X's Goku voice. It made it so the transition to Masako Nozawa's voice wasn't so jarring to me. And because of the boom of Dragon Ball video creators like Geekdom 101, Rhyme Style, and many more, I also got into the animation side of things, in part thanks to the infamous episode 5 of Super. The biggest shout out to Anime AJ for making me interested in the production side of things. It was through that increased interest in animation and visuals that I gradually started to explore Toriyama's other works. In passing mostly. I never read much of anything beyond Dragon Ball, something that I'm looking to change as I ordered Akira Toriyama's manga theater the day his passing became public. But I was always interested in his artwork. New and old, Dragon Ball and non-Dragon Ball. Toriyama just has a very appealing style across the board. And especially throughout the 2020s, I grew more and more interested in his style pre-Dragon Ball and post-Dragon Ball, seeing the evolution of his craft and being in absolute awe. It made me strive even more to refine my own work and character designs, which were already heavily influenced by him. It's genuinely insane to think about how much this man impacted not only myself, but the things I love most dearly beyond his works. Heck, my favorite franchise of all time is Sonic the Hedgehog, and just about everyone has seen the comparisons between that series and Dragon Ball. As more time passed, it became clear just how much Toriyama influenced so much of what we see and consume. To bring up Sonic once more, Super Sonic and Silver the Hedgehog are just the tip of the iceberg. As stated by Sonic 2 character designer Yasushi Yamaguchi, Sonic and Tails' whole dynamic was heavily based on Piccolo and Gohan. And we likely would not have a Sonic to begin with, had Naoto Oshima not studied design due to his love of Toriyama's manga. Hell, the emblem we see throughout the classics? Straight up out of Dr. Slump, a series that's also inspired parts of the Super Mario franchise. And those are just two series. Without Toriyama, we wouldn't have things like One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, My Hero Academia, Pokemon, and so many others out there. Without Toriyama, I don't think I'd be here. Not in the way I am now. Toriyama's Dragon Ball opened up a whole new world for me. I'd seen many anime before, but nothing quite like Dragon Ball. It was what led me to becoming interested in anime and manga as a whole. It changed my life in ways that I can't even comprehend. I became an artist because of Toriyama, even if indirectly. And over time his work inspired so much of what I made, including the many characters and passion projects I've been working on for well over 10 years, including my own mascot, who I've once called my Toribot. I've taken a lot of cues from how Toriyama draws action scenes, how he draws faces and expressions, how he designs characters, and in fact, a chunk of my own characters take direct inspiration from Toriyama designs, like my main girl Olivia Teresa, whose appearance is based on Android 21, and had her design refined thanks to Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. A lot of what I've done would not have been the same had I not fallen in love with Toriyama's work. And the more I see of it, stepping outside the world of Dragon Ball, the more I find to appreciate and admire. Toriyama was a master of his craft, an influential individual that left his mark on so many things. In spite of any low points he had, his highs reached so high that it didn't matter. Dragon Ball is a worldwide cultural phenomenon that shaped the modern shonen. Dragon Quest, which he did the character designs for, changed RPGs forever. Dr. Slump pretty much put the man on the map. This one man, this one author, who always seemed larger than life, greater than what we could ever imagine, that always felt like he could potentially outlive us all, is now gone. It still feels unbelievable. It still feels unreal. A man who inspired me and countless others is now up in the other world. And now, it's up to us, as fans, to carry on his legacy. Be it by making our own stories inspired by his work, making stories set in his worlds, be it Dragon Ball Sandland, or even Tomato the Cutesy Gumshoe, or simply spreading the good word. Akira Toriyama may be gone, but his legacy, the many works, characters, worlds, and stories he left behind live on. His influence reaches far and wide, through so many mediums and so many different tales, that even if you didn't engage directly with the Toriyama work, or even if you didn't like what he's made, chances are something you hold near and dear was inspired by his works, in some way making it so even a small piece of him impacts you. I know I sure was impacted by him prior to discovering Dragon Ball through Sonic the Hedgehog. And really, I'm forever grateful for everything he's done. At this stage, what else can be said? Akira Toriyama changed the world. He left such a profound impact on pop culture, one that has lasted over 40 years and only continues to expand. His work has reached millions of people, of many different languages, cultures, and ethnicities. It inspired them, forged friendships, and brought people together in ways others could only dream of, and helped to shape the entire generations of creators that are also gradually leaving their mark on the world, be it big names like Eiichiro Oda, or small artists like me, and so many others. So from one fan to you, Mr. Toriyama, I have to say, thank you for everything.